I created something called the Innovation Initiative last year. And there's two main goals for it. How do we spur private sector growth? And how do we use technology to modernize government to make it more efficient, effective, transparent, and accountable? In doing so, we put 32 bills together that year. 9 of them became law. It takes 218 votes to pass a bill. Do you know what the average vote on our bills were? 366 out of 435. We didn't start to say, let's write a bipartisan bill. We said, let's just deal with an issue. I believe every company is a technology company. And when I look at government today, anything that government has more control over is the slowest to change to technology. That's some of our challenge with healthcare, with education, but government itself. If you call my office with a problem or any member of Congress you have, you know what they're going to tell you? I'm going to mail you a release of information form, sign it, mail it back to me, and then I'll call somebody about it. So in the process, what I'm doing now is make that electronic. But if government employees, they travel a lot. But why can't they share? Why couldn't they use Lyft? Why couldn't they use any other company in that process as well? So I've got a series of bills I'm running out I call the modernization of government. That's one. Next week when we go back, we're going to do modernizing technology. All of us, as taxpayers, spend $80 billion a year on technology and government. But 80% of that goes to legacy programs. The VA uses a program made in the 50s. The first thing I learned to code was Fortran, right? And I think that was advanced for the VA. And when you think about it, the VA was created in 1921. So if you had a claim, they'd write it on a piece of paper. If we were hot, we'd turn on fans and we'd get our news from the radio. Today, you get your news from your phone. We got central air. And if you have a claim, the VA writes it on a piece of paper. It's a real challenge. We could save a great deal amount of money. We could be much more effective. And what more importantly, we could be more accountable, but we give people greater choice in their government and more transparency. So this is very bipartisan in the direction that we go. You'll find even our modernization bill, Steny Hoyer is one of the co-sponsors. It's fun to do these because people want to come and work with you. The other ones get a little hairy.
To say the least.
Yes.
What, in terms of this, have you been working with the Trump administration? Jared Kushners has his own kind of innovation initiative that he's doing. What kind of buy-in have you gotten from them?
I'm very excited about Jared. You know, Chris Liddell works over there. They have another employee that just came in to do this, Matt Lara, who used to work in my office. We're working very closely together on going through and looking at government and making it more efficient and accountable. It's not a glitzy thing. But I'll tell you, it's going to give you probably the greatest return on the investment. The administration that does it will not get the return. Future generations will. That's why past administrations, you're not enticed to do it. But it's gone on too long. So, yeah, they've got a great plan. We did something just like this in the White House just a little bit ago talking about it.
So I think there's a lot of fascination out here in a lot of meetings I have about Donald Trump. You have gotten to be pretty close to him, I think, as one of the members of Congress who talks to him regularly. He talked to you after the Comey decision. Walk us through what it's like. What's a conversation with him like? How often are you talking to him?
Anybody in here vote for him besides me? Okay.
So you have a lot of people coming in new.
You're very interested, I can tell. All right. So I'm going to take it. You might have a different philosophical place than I am. You know what I'd tell you? You should embrace this president. He is not, and don't let me get it finished, okay? He is not philosophically bent to the far right. He is one that's going to look for results. He is always, you could be in talking about one certain topic and he'll ask you about another. He's always looking for input. He's been in a family business. He's going to keep it within the family. Family matters to him life. He is a disruptor. All of you work for businesses that are disruptors. And regardless if you're happy or unhappy about the outcome, we have the very best system, okay? we still live in the very best country with the very best system, even if you dislike the outcome. I think it's healthy that a voice was listened to when others did not. And take for one point, he wasn't my first, second, or third choice, okay? I did not think he could win coming out. But he beat everybody that's been in politics before. He did it with less money. And you have to say, probably the establishment against him. I don't think any other Republican would have won Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. We always talk about it, but we don't get there. So that meant for him to win, he was listening to people outside his own party. And he's true to that. And so from the different perspectives, I know from his personality comes a little abrupt, but you've got a check and balance in this government. This government has gotten very big. So it's probably pretty healthy. We got a disruptor that will question, why do we do what we do? And it's healthy as we go through this. But I know where your feelings are, but I would just say this. If you would have elected somebody else in the Republican Party back then, they would have been very philosophical. I think you're going to see from infrastructure, you're going to see from tax and other that he will bring more people on the other side of the aisle in. The problem is, the country will not allow somebody on the other side of the aisle to work with somebody. It has become too divisive. Republicans had the Tea Party. Democrats now have Resist. We get our news philosophically. They can cover the exact same event, but MSNBC will cover it different than Fox. And we almost divide ourselves. And we'll get mad at Washington, but remember this. This is my philosophy. The Senate is like a country club, and the House is having lunch at a truck stop, okay? We are a microcosm of society. So anything that's happening in society is happening in Congress. And so what we reflect what the country is doing. I think it's too important that we should try to find common ground. I'm very proud of the fact that bills we move out is 366, because you can find no other topic that has that. So if we can build on that, and let's move to other topics to be able to get there as well.
So I want to move on, but I feel like we have an opportunity here where a lot of people didn't vote for Trump. What's the thing that maybe everybody here, what's the one in a couple of sentence things that you think is he's most misrepresented or misunderstood so far about his presidency?
Well, everybody follows the tweets, right? I think the tweets he uses much to the disruption of politics itself, right? To have that many followers on a Twitter account is equivalent to owning a newspaper back in the day. So why can't he get his own message out? And it's also to put attention on something that he wants to put attention on. I think he's misknown that he's so rigid in his positions. He's not. He is open-minded. I've gone on many a times, and I know you're going to giggle and laugh, but if you walk in and you sit down with him, and he's already stated a position, but you lay out the case to him, he's not somebody that says, no, don't talk to me about it. He'll be inquisitive. He'll ask you other questions, and I'll guarantee you the next person walks in, he'll ask them questions about it too. I want somebody that will listen to everything. And I think as his presidency goes on, you'll see it.
Let's talk about Silicon Valley and the Washington relationship. There's been some critique that Washington just comes out here. It's the ATM for fundraising, right? And they kind of just cash the checks and then leave. How do you see it? Because I think we've talked about this before, that's not how you kind of view your relationship with Silicon Valley in terms of getting ideas.
I love the Valley because I come up here and I actually bring a group of members, and I don't bring members when they're chairman. I bring members when they're young and they're coming up, because then the first thing a lot of you won't say, oh, they don't have horns. That's interesting. And when I first come in here, a lot of people wouldn't listen or wouldn't let me in. I learn. And what I do a 2 or 3 day session, right? I'll do some with just VCs, show me your very best company. I go to companies when they're just emerging. Airbnb, I went within their first year, brought 6 other members. And what happens is, I believe in continuing education, and I could never have too many friends in this world. And what happens, especially when they're younger, then they'll bring Silicon Valley into D.C. for hearings about how we're dealing with security, how we're dealing with something else. The Valley's doing this. They're way ahead of us. Because think of what we do inside Congress. Last year, I pushed to pass Yoder's bill, Email Privacy Act. It was the highest co-sponsored bill we had. I got it up and off the floor. You know the last time we passed something to deal with electronic mail? You know what the top movie in the country was? Top Gun. But how quickly did the world change? I mean, really, everybody is fascinated with what happens here because you do amazing things, and government is living back in a different century. So you can enhance it. The very last bill Barack Obama signed, he signed 20 minutes before he was out of office. He didn't even sign it at the White House. He signed it at the Capitol. As majority leader, I go down and I greet President Obama and the vice president, and then Trump and Pence comes in and we meet, and then we drive back, and then they drive back after us and you go out for the swearing in. I had a bill called the Talent Act. It was the first bill this Congress signed, the last bill of that president. You know what the Talent Act says? If you really want government to change, if we use the same people, how are we going to change? Or how are we going to know what's new? The Talent Acts take the talent from here. Would you help your government? Would you come back for a year and help us transform really to be the 21st century? I mean, it's kind of like being the Peace Corps back in the day. I'm sure the companies here would appreciate you doing it. You'd really find big change. And back in these agencies, we'd get excited by it. I mean, I want to grab a group of individuals, walk us through a couple different congressional offices, and show us how can we be more efficient? How could we make everything more electronic? How can we serve the constituent in a faster basis? And all that does makes people closer, but actually makes it less expensive.
We're going to do kind of a rapid fire on some of the other issues that I know a lot of the people here care about. In particular, you said tax reform. Is it done before the midterm election?
Yes, done before this year, end of this year.
Okay, that's big. Immigration reform. You had money in the spending bill, but not a border wall spending. Do you think is there going to be a border wall funding for that along the southern border?
I think there'll be an element of a border wall. If we have border security, this is one thing I talked to the president a great deal about. If you study history, if Nixon could be the one who could go to China, Trump is the one that could do immigration reform. And I know you're going to snicker, you're going to do it, but you know what? We have to get immigration reform done. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I don't think it's overly difficult to do. Roughly almost half the people that are here illegally came here legal on the visa program. We should change that. It is luck of the lottery to come to America, and then it's chain migration, but you go get an engineering degree and we tell you to go to another country and compete against us. We should transform it based upon, we put it more towards education, more towards greater what we need, break chain migration, then you're able to deal with that. For those who are here illegally, I look like this. We live under the rule of law. We do not hold you liable under the age of 18 for something that's not a major felony, right? So why would we start now? So if you were brought here under the age of 18, I think you have a path to be able to go forward. If you came here over the age of 18 and you broke some major felony, I think you need to depart. If you came here over the age of 18, why can't you earn legal status? Now, my county is very diverse, much more diverse than this audience. And many people tell me they don't want to be a citizen, but you know what? They have children who are citizens and children who are not. They want to be able to call the cops. They want to be able to pay their taxes. They don't care about voting. I think we can get there, make sure the border's secure first, and then what happens is you have a legal system that works. You're under the rule of law. If you break the rule of law, you'll break society down. But you also deal with people that are here illegally, and you create a system that works.
All right, we are about to get the wrap, but I want to finish on a Carla Marinucci question, so a local one that I don't know as much about, but she was saying that the Caltrain is something that a lot of the people in this audience in particular would be very interested in hearing about. One of the busiest commutes for a lot of these people here, $647 million, been in the works for 25 years, and you were against it.
No, let's clarify. I'm not against the Caltrain. I'm against the high-speed rail because it's not high speed, and I think it's going to take a great deal amount of our money. The challenge is I think government has to be honest to the voters. So if you're going to use, I told the governor this too, the federal government will do our share, just don't use high-speed rail money. You just raised a lot of taxes in there. Use that, and there's no problem whatsoever as we move forward. When I look at Hyperloop, that could go 700 miles an hour, and look at what they're going to build on high speed, we're going to subsidize everybody who rides that. If we have Hyperloop, you know what could be a bedroom community? Bakersfield to here. 1 hour is really the time basis people will go. But if you're going 700 miles an hour, you can live 300 miles away. It transforms our country. And high-speed rail is going to cost us much more than we've ever told the voters. And I think if you ask the voters for the money and you know it's not the case, you should give up on that and let's really make something much better and much stronger.
All right. Well, Mr. McCarthy, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. As always, very fun. Thank you so much.